Yolande Nell sent this report from Jerusalem.
From the dangerous wasteland of northern Gaza, these men returned triumphant today, hundreds filing along the coastal road carrying sacks of flour from the UN. But dozens lost their lives, and even more were rushed in wounded to this Gaza City hospital. Witnesses described Israeli forces opening fire. We saw the lorries approaching, so we moved towards them, Mokhia Zetouna said. We raised our hands like this. We were running and signalling that we had nothing. Then they started shooting at us. Banging pots and pans and noisy protests at a food handout site in Gaza. The UN's World Food Programme says 1 in 3 people now goes for days without eating. But Israel questions reports of starvation. Fleur Nahum is a special envoy for the Israeli government.
We've been hearing this lies of starvation only for 2 years. Every 3 months, there's a new report that says they're on the brink of starvation. And somehow, miraculously, nobody's starving to death.
In another development today, Israel's military put out a new evacuation order, causing widespread panic among tens of thousands of Palestinians in crowded neighborhoods of Deir al-Balah. Signs that a new ground operation could be imminent also alarmed the families of Israeli hostages, with a number of those still held captive by Hamas assumed to be in the area. They fear that an Israeli attack could endanger their loved ones.
Scotty Scheffler is closing in on golf's Open Championship at Royal Portrush. Victory would see him become just the 4th player in history to win a Masters, PGA Championship and the Open before the age of 30. John Wilkinson has that and the rest of the day's sport.
Scheffler does now seem all but certain to stay on top of the leaderboard and win his first Open title and his 4th major. Jojo Saka reports from the Northern Ireland courts.
Yes, Scotty Scheffler is almost there now. The Claret Jug and a maiden Open Championship victory just a couple of holes away. The American is currently standing on the tee of the 17th, the par 4 here at Royal Portrush. With a commanding 4-shot lead, Scheffler has been impeccable once again today. 3 birdies in his first 5 holes of his final round, and even a double bogey at 8. He immediately bounced back after that with a birdie. Barring a highly unlikely collapse from here, Scheffler will complete the 3rd leg of 4 of a career Grand Slam and once again underline his status as the best in the world.
Football, and the England defender Lucy Bronze says abuse of women's players is on the increase after it emerged that her teammate Jess Carter had been sent racist messages during Euro 2025. Carter says she'll take a step back from social media, whilst the FA say they're working with the police, and Bronze says international success for the England team has brought unwelcome side effects.
I think we all know that any player of colour that plays for England has probably gone through racist abuse. That's a sad fact in this day and age. Yesterday I think there was a lot of anger, to be honest. It's anger and sadness that our teammates are going through this.
The Lionesses will also not take the knee pre-match for the first time in 5 years when they played a Euro 2025 semi-final against Italy on Tuesday night. Bronze said the anti-racism gesture is, in her words, not as strong as it used to be. Tennis, only British number 1 Jack Draper has withdrawn from the upcoming Canadian Open and Cincinnati Open with an arm injury. He's planning to return to the US Open next month. And the Belgian Tim Wellens has won stage 50 at Cycling Tour de France, and his teammate Tadej Pogacar has maintained his overall lead in the general classification.
John Wilkinson. An American DJ veteran who went on to become a social media star has died at the age of 102. Papa Jake Larson was among the Allied troops who landed in northern France in 1944 to help end the Second World War. Later in life, he gained a huge following online, sharing stories of the war, as Charlotte Simpson reports.
Papa Jake here. Coming up is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. 80 years ago, I landed on Omaha Beach.
Papa Jake Larson delivering one of his many story times to his 1.2 million followers on TikTok, determined to share the experiences of the greatest generation with the youngest. Born in 1922, Jake Larson lied about his age to enlist in the US National Guard at the age of 15. In January 1942, he was sent overseas and became the operations sergeant tasked with typing up the plans for the invasion of Normandy.
every person that landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day came through these fingers. These fingers I'm showing you right now. Type their names.
He too was among those men who stormed the shores of Normandy on June 6, 1944, surviving machine gun fire when he landed on Omaha Beach. Posting on the account she helped set up in 2020, Papa Jake's granddaughter, Michaela, announced the veteran's peaceful death at the age of 102, signing off the statement with his famous catchphrase, "Love you all the mostest."
The headlines again. The Environment Secretary has said the way the water industry is regulated must change because Ofwat is failing customers and the environment. Palestinian officials say at least 88 people have been killed by Israeli gunfire in Gaza today, many of them as they waited for aid in the north of the territory. A ceasefire between Druze and Bedouin communities in the Syrian city of Sueda appears to be holding after 2 weeks of bitter fighting. The water regulator, Ofwat, is to be scrapped as part of efforts to fix what the government is calling a broken industry.
In the biggest overhaul of water regulation in a generation, we will bring water functions from 4 different regulators into one.
We'll examine the response to a major review of the water sector in England and Wales after ministers were presented with dozens of recommendations. Israel has launched a new ground offensive in an area of central Gaza it hasn't previously targeted, as the UK joins other nations to warn that the suffering of civilians in the territory has reached new depths. Reform UK has set out a raft of policies to tackle crime, saying it would reduce the number of offences by half in 5 years.
Reform will be the toughest party on law and order and on crime that this country has ever seen.
Also tonight, Palestine Action challenges its ban in the High Court. The Doctors' Union warns that NHS England could put patient safety at risk during strikes planned for this week. And Ryanair suggests it could increase bonuses for staff who spot oversized luggage. The Environment Secretary, Steve Reed, has announced what he's calling the biggest overhaul of the water sector in a generation, including the abolition of the regulator for England and Wales. The move to scrap Ofwat was one of 88 recommendations made by a landmark review of the industry led by Sir John Cunliffe, which was published this morning. The report described water regulation as fragmented and overlapping. It suggested streamlining watchdog responsibilities, strengthening protection for consumers, and introducing measures to tackle excessive water company dividends. Mr. Reid says Ofwat will be replaced with a more powerful organisation responsible for the entire industry. Our business editor, Simon Jack, reports.
The water industry is in a mess. You don't need a 450-page document to tell people that. Record amounts of sewage pollution, handsome water company salaries and dividends, along with rising consumer bills, has fueled outrage. And Sir John Cunliffe said regulation of the sector was at the heart of many of the issues.
We need to act on all of the failures that have brought us to the present pass. Our assessment is that the current environmental and economic regulators have not achieved what is needed and will not achieve what is needed.
In addition to the abolition of Ofwat, the government said it would adopt 4 other recommendations, including an end to companies monitoring their own sewage and leak performance, and the establishment of a consumer ombudsman. Ministers told Sir John Cunliffe that renationalising the water industry could not be one of his recommendations. The Environment Secretary, Steve Reid, explained why he'd ruled it out.
Nationalising the water companies would cost around £100 billion. That's money we don't have. We'd have to take it from the National Health Service and from education. But secondly, it would take years of legal wrangling to unpick the current ownership models, and during that time there would be no investment into our broken water system.
The water crisis has been years in the making, and a single report, however long, was never likely to immediately satisfy campaigners. Erica Popplewell is from River Action.
We need to see resources being put into whatever regulator it is so they can properly do their job. At the moment we've seen them being defunded over the last decade or so they're trying to do more and more with less and less resources, which simply isn't possible.
It's hard to imagine things getting much worse, and yet they still could. The tens of billions earmarked for investment will take years to filter through, while bills are already rising fast. Many consumers feel they are paying for the sins of the past in the here and now.
The Environment Secretary promised households would never again face what he called last year's shocking water bill hikes. But Sir John Cunliffe warned prices were likely to keep rising. Our correspondent Duncan Kennedy considers what today's announcements might mean for consumers. He's been speaking to Southern Water customers in Hampshire, where a hosepipe ban came into force this morning.
Southern Water has 2.2 million customers. From today, they face restrictions. 83-year-old David Horton, who lives near Alton in Hampshire, now has to carry his watering can to hydrate his plants. He believes companies like Southern Water haven't invested enough.
I think that a lot more money should have been put into building